So first up is our Skagit County PUD, which are Public Utility District update. And we're gonna invite George Sidhu, the Executive Director, to come up, and Chris Phillips is gonna help us get that project going, so. And we're also welcoming former council member Joe Lindquist, who is now a PUD commissioner, so thanks, Joe, for being here. Welcome, George.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Council. I appreciate the opportunity to come and speak with you to give you our annual PUD update. This one took a little bit longer to schedule, just with things going on this spring, so instead of coming a few months ago, here I am today. And yes, we do have one of our commissioners here with us today, so you would all be familiar with that. I'm going to update you on a couple of projects that we're working on together, as well as some of our capital projects that we are working on right now as well as part of our strategic plan. And then we can leave time for questions at the end, but feel free to interrupt me as we're going to ask questions if anything comes up. I wanted to start with this because I think this is a really good example of our partnership. A couple of years ago with Chief Bryce, we negotiated a fire hydrant maintenance agreement where PUD is now maintaining all of the fire hydrants within the city of Mount Vernon. And this is it's a win for us because the hydrants are connected to the water system, and it's important that the hydrants work when the fire truck rolls up to the hydrants. And since we have a lot of experience with our staff in working on the hydrants, maintaining them, replacing them, it made a lot of sense for us to be the ones responsible for the maintenance. So we started in 2020. There are approximately 1,330 fire hydrants, and we will do a 5-year cycle of getting through all of them. So we do 20% every year. What we normally do is all the inspections in the springtime, get all those out of the way, and then you might see our crews in the summer when the weather's nicer going around and painting them with a spray gun. And so I think after this 5-year cycle, the first 5-year cycle is done, you'll see a lot of fresh looking hydrants, and you can be confident that they've all been maintained. The good thing is in the city of Mount Vernon, the fire department has done a good job of doing maintenance in years past. And so, you know, although the oldest hydrant is from 1940 and the average installation in 1992, most of them are newer and newer style. So they're easier to maintain, and it makes it easy for us to go around and do all that for you all. And we are negotiating similar agreements with, currently right now we're working with the city of Cedar Woolley so that we can get a similar agreement in place, and then following that, hopefully we can get to the city of Burlington. 4 years ago, the PUD issued its first ever strategic plan. And we've been using that ever since as part of our planning process for our financial planning and our capital project planning. And as you can see by the date on the plan, it's going to expire this year. So we are currently in the process of updating our strategic plan. We're going to start having some meetings starting next month. And our first plan was very successful. It helped align a lot of our department goals along with our financial goals in order to achieve a lot of our large projects and large decisions. So this was a really good plan that we did 4 years ago, and are hoping to duplicate that with our update. And so even when I present to staff, I use the strategic plan as kind of a guiding document. And so I'm going to roll right into that and explain a lot of what is in our strategic plan with these slides. This is the biggest thing. We have a lot of infrastructure replacement to do. We do a rolling 10-year capital plan. And so in the next 10 years, we are projected to spend $155 million on infrastructure renewal or replacement. And most of that is in the next 3 years. We've got a big spike this year. We hope to spend $35 million this year, another 36 or 37 next year, and then we taper off into some more manageable numbers. But we are really in the mode of doing some big projects and doing some capital replacement. And I'll explain to you what those spikes are this year and next year. I'm sure you're probably aware of the kinds of projects that we're working on, so I'll share those next. This is one of the biggest projects that the PUD's ever taken on, and we're on the downhill side of this project, actually. This is the replacement of the transmission line that starts at Judy Reservoir and comes down into the city of Mount Vernon. And this pipeline supplies water to about 70% of our customers. So it's really important. It is, however, at the end of its useful life. We've had a lot of leaks and breaks on this in the last 5 years. So we are replacing it and upsizing it. The current pipe is 24-inch diameter, and it's a concrete cylinder pipe. And the replacement is 36-inch diameter, and it's going to be, well, it is a welded steel pipe, structurally, seismically designed. It's just over 5 miles long, and we have put in over 3 miles already. You probably, if you drive up Highway 9 or have been driving down College Way, at least at the east end of it, you've probably seen a lot of the pipes strung along the side of the road. If you go into Clear Lake and up on Old Day Creek Road, you'll see more construction up there. But this project is going very well. It's got a price tag of $40 million. That's the construction design, all of it put together. But it is, we hope to be done with pipe construction this fall, and then finishing up restoration and testing and tie-ins. This time next year, it should be in service, and the old one should be, the old one will be left in place. We don't have any plans for it. It will be a pipe that is in our easement, and at some point, there may be a need for it, and we have a large conduit in the ground, for lack of a better term. One really neat thing about this project is that the segment that runs from roughly Big Rock up to just about Clear Lake is a partnership with Skagit County. And so we are laying our pipe in the old railroad grade, the Centennial Railroad grade. And when we're done, it's going to be surfaced by the county as part of the Centennial Trail. So that will be, I think, it's a dual benefit to all the residents of Skagit County, and we're happy with that partnership. I've just got a couple of pictures to show you about this project. This is some of the work that was done this spring down at the east end of College Way. And this was pipe that was welded in place because it was 2,000 feet of pipe that was going to be drilled and installed under the Nookachamps Creek. We did not want to, well, it's easier to go under than it is to go through a wetland. And so there was a horizontal directional drill that we had designed in our project. This is some of the photos from the construction. And then these are some photos of the drilling that took place to get that pilot hole in the borehole under the creek. And this was all done, prepared back in March and April. And we were going to pull that pipe. This is a shot of that pipe in early May when we were going to pull it underneath the creek. And I took this photo from a recent Skagit Valley Herald article, and so that's why I brought it here today. I think the article said something like the project is stalled, and so I wanted to clarify that that pipe didn't go in, but the rest of the project is still moving forward. We are working with the contractor to modify the hole to make sure that that pipe gets installed correctly. It did not go in the first time like we had designed, but this is a separate part of the project. The rest of it is able to get done, and we'll clean this up this winter and next spring, and we'll have this piece in as well. But it was just a little disappointing that it's such a neat part of the project. It was a really critical part, and it looked really neat when you drove by that day and had the pipe kind of hung up in the sky, and then it didn't go in as planned. But sometimes those things happen. It's not going to stop the project, and we'll get it in later this year. This is another project to update you on. I'm sure you guys are familiar with this in one way or another. We are in the design process of a new campus on our property at Freeway Drive. And so the photo on the left just shows our site plan, and on the right, that's a rendering of what the new building would look like. And the design was chosen to help fit in with some of the architecture in Mount Vernon. There's a lot of brick buildings downtown, and so we chose that appearance for those reasons. The site plan is there. I won't get into detail on what's there. We are maintaining use of some of the existing buildings, but not all of them. But we do need the space for the new building. And obviously, I know you're all aware, this takes this takes over some of the play fields that are there. And what I will say to you all is that we are in discussions with the school district and are committed to replacing those fields in one way or another so that there is no loss of any play fields for the city. I'm confident that we will get that done. Moving on. I'm not sure if I've ever updated the council on this, but the PUD is part of a partnership with the Port of Skagit. And SkagitNet is a entity that the goal was to install some fiber backbone throughout the county. And so this is a map that was developed back in 2017. This is all one line now, but the red lines were split up into 7 segments on which showed high-speed fiber backbone to be distributed throughout the county. And what I can tell you is that these 7 segments, although you can't see where the 7 are, these have all been completed. And so there is fiber backbone basically from Anacortes all the way up to Concrete as part of this. Some of it was installed by the PUD, like if there's pipeline projects like the transmission line project that I showed you earlier, we're going to install a conduit alongside that pipe, and we're going to run fiber in that conduit as well. And we've done that with other projects. And so some of these segments were able to be completed because we put in conduit, put in fiber with excess capacity, and now SkagitNet is able to use that. So this backbone is available to internet service providers. It's not a retail service. This is a wholesale backbone to internet service providers. And so if customers are interested in connecting to this backbone, SkagitNet, which the call goes to the Port of Skagit, handles the coordination and the installation of service. There are more segments to be done. This was just the first 7 segments that required some funding. If we didn't put it in, there was funding that was available from the county, and then there's other state broadband funding that was used as part of this as well. And the next steps are also to build out some of the distribution lines. This is the backbone, and now there's some funding being used to build out distribution lines in the areas of Day Creek, Fur Island, I think in Clear Lake. There's some partnerships with some private ISPs that are being used to build those out. So this has been a success the last 5 years.
George, do you have any timeline on those other partnerships?
They're working on them right now, actually. Yeah, like I know the project on Fur Island, that was part of the state broadband funding that came out last year. And they should be doing that this year. So they surveyed, well, they used GIS mapping to figure out how many customers there were, if they had service, and they drafted up a distribution network, partnered in that case on Fur Island with Ziply. And they got money from the state broadband office, and they're working on building it out. And you know, as far as I know, they'll be done this year. And then they'll move to different areas.
Thank you.
Another neat project that I like to brag about a little bit is our Microhydro electric generation project. And we did a video on this last year, and Mayor Boudreau was part of that video. But at our Division Street tank and pump station it's at the intersection of Division and Digby. When we designed it, we left some space in that pump station so that we could, in the future, install a microhydro unit to generate electricity. And we were able to do that a couple of years ago. And it's through a partnership that we had with a private company called InPipe. And so this is photos of the microhydro unit and just some of the articles. It got a lot of press. We were able to, well, people came to us actually who wanted to write about it. The partnership we had with the private contractor, they wanted to promote it obviously for their own business, but they were very complimentary of everything that's going on in Mount Vernon at the PUD, just being able to do this. The partnership that we had with PSE to be able to install it was great. We generate enough electricity to use on site at that pump station. And so we offset about $1,000 a month of our own electrical costs. We're hoping to do more of these. That was just the first one, and it was successful. Successful to the point where we were featured on the Innovation Nation, which is a CBS show on Sunday mornings that talks about innovative projects throughout the country. And so they actually came and talked to us, and we ended up on one of their shows. It was a couple of weeks ago, I think. It airs at 6:30 in the morning, so I don't think very many people saw it. I did record it so my daughter could see it, but then she doesn't. Whenever I turn it on, she just makes me change the channel, so that didn't work either. But pretty soon it'll be available on YouTube, and then you'll see it promoted more by the PUD on our social media channels, but it's just not available yet.
George, could you explain a little bit about how the electric generation, how it's generated with
Yeah.
the water pressure and all that stuff?
So because we collect water up at Judy Reservoir, it's at a higher elevation, and as it goes through the pipes and travels downhill through our new transmission line that we're putting in, it generates pressure, and that elevation pressure is too high for us to serve to our customers. So what we have to do is use a pressure reducing valve, and it actually it's like a flow constrictor, and it gets in the way of the pipe and it reduces the pressure in that pipe. But that flow constrictor just burns off all that energy that we had naturally coming from Judy Reservoir. So what the microturbine does is that, there's a turbine inside the pipe, and instead of just burning the energy, it spins the turbine. And so it will generate electricity as water's flowing through that pipe. So it's like that in other parts of our system, obviously, because all of our water comes from Judy Reservoir. And so this was a good place for us to install a turbine to generate electricity because we had a power need at the same location. And so it made it easy to do that. But yeah, we do have quite a few other sites where we'd like to install something like this and partner with either local agencies or other municipal governments to be able to use that power if we don't have a need at that location. So we're working with PSE on how to accomplish that. If you watch the video, it explains it much better than I just did. Although I'm the one talking on the video, but that was prepared. Last but not least, just a little update on some of the COVID issues. Just to summarize, through COVID, there was a moratorium on utility shutoffs. I'm sure you're all aware, for gas, electric, water. And so there was also a moratorium on late fees and penalty waivers. So what ended up happening is that there were a lot of customers for all utilities that didn't pay their bills. And so this is kind of a summary of the fees that were not collected during COVID. So we waived about $200,000 in late fees and penalties, and our total balances that were past due were about $220,000. So it's quite a bit. They would have been higher had our customer service representatives not went out and called people, reminded them, tried to get payments in. So we did a lot of work to try and keep that number low, and also to keep people from getting too much into arrears, because then it's really hard to come back from that. So we were pretty successful. What also did help, which is why I want to put this on there, community action. We were able to work with them, and they were able to pledge $77,000 towards some of the customers that needed assistance. And then, I know it was 2 years ago, but you guys deserve a thank you for providing the $13,000 for Mount Vernon customers that we were able to support, 78 customers there. So we tried hard to find other funding sources to help the customers that couldn't pay. And so community action, and there's some other local agencies that were supporting some of those customers as well. And in the governor's budget this year, there is $100 million for utility arrearages, but that covers all utilities, and throughout the state. We did submit our list of customers and outstanding balances to the state office, to the Department of Commerce. So we're hoping to get some more money that we can help customers pay down some of their accounts as well. All in all, our numbers are looking more like they were pre-COVID. Our outstanding balances, the amount and the size of them are back to spring of 2020, back to before everything was shut down. So that worked, so we've run through the full cycle. We have allowed people to go on payment plans if they had outstanding balances, so we have 45 people on payment plans. So if their water bills stacked up and they couldn't pay it all at once, we're allowing them to pay it over time. And we're still not charging late fees or penalty waivers yet. You know, some of that stuff just needs time for people to get back into it. So that will come probably later this year or early next year. And that's my update. And I'll take any questions if you guys have any.
All right. Any questions for George?
Nobody? I'm gonna ask a question about the ball field.
Okay.
Okay, because we have been talking about it here. We're very, I guess, concerned that we need to have a ball field. I mean, that was the whole concept, is that that ball field was for the kids in Mount Vernon, and that we were able to manage it, I guess is the right word to say. We want to make sure that if that, you know, anything happen, that's important. That's a very important
Yeah.
thing for us. I think I can speak for everybody on the council on that. We just want to make sure that any agreements that are brought forward, that there's that same, we have to have the same type of agreement.
Yeah.
That we have to be in charge of that. We cannot let, it just doesn't work if we don't have the ability to schedule in our Parks and Rec department. So it's, I just really have to make that, from me, very clear to you that this is hard for us, because we take a lot of pride in being able to help the kids of Mount Vernon, and this whole agreement was based on, you know, the agreements that we have between us are based on the reciprocal agreements for leases. So I just want to make sure that I put my 2 cents in so that you understand where I'm coming from.
No, thank you. I appreciate that comment, and I hear loud and clear. I've worked at the PUD for almost 11 years now, and you know, I love, at the end of the day, when the cars roll in and with the soccer teams and the baseball teams and they come and use the field, it's always nice to see that. So I understand the value of that to the community, because there's, even on the weekends, there's people there using the fields. So the value of those fields is not lost on me. I do understand the need for them. And that's why I did mention earlier, we're committed to replacing in-kind so that you get something at least the size of that. We're working with the school district, and we think we're going to be able to provide you a really good replacement.
Just has to be able, I mean, it has to be under our control.
Yes,
You
for
know
sure.
what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I just want to, thank you, George.
Yeah.
I'll just chime in with what Mary is saying. I do have a concern. That land has been in the community for close to 40 years, where the community can use it. We have had challenges working with the school district, and so I certainly hope that the mayor is at the table when we have those conversations. Because my perspective is land is very, very valuable, especially parkland in the city, and we're not getting additional land. We would be using some land.
Mhm.
And that would, at the end of the day, it would fall back to the school district, so.
Yeah, I'll go back to what Councilman Hudson said. I think the language in the agreement is very important for those specific reasons. And yeah, we wouldn't do it without having the mayor involved and Kevin as well. I know Kevin's involved in this. And so we recognize the importance of that, and to make sure that you get that control of the fields.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions for George?
All right, thank you for working with the city on the arrearages, and I, I know that your staff went above and beyond, I think, trying to contact folks and point them in the direction of assistance, and so we appreciate that for sure for our community.
No, thank you for that. I'll pass that on to staff.
All right. Thank you for coming.
Okay, thank you.
Very much.